Second question. How many times was Ezell shot and how many officers discharged their firearms?
Can't tell you the number of shots fired yet, but I can tell you there were 2 officers.
2 officers discharged their firearms?
Yes.
Mr.Oficer, Mr. John Wayne, Mr. Try to come slaughter my name, Mr. Mention the gang, Mr. Put you in they aim, Mr. Gun go bang, Mr. Kill Mike Brown in vain, Mr. Feel no pain, Mr. Haynes.
It was our fight, our independent struggle that won the names of the killer cops, the 2 gang squad officers who killed Ezell Ford, and the 2 gang squad sergeants who killed Omar Ambrego. The fact that we have their names now, Roberto Calderon, Antonio Villegas, Jeff Mares, and Charlton Wamford are all killer cops. We want their names being public.
Oh no, mister, we ain't gonna use no type of contraband. We gonna use our rights, and I'ma use my life. Cause he's paid the price.
To the family of Ezell Ford, I'm here with my husband to say to you, our hearts go out to you. I'm here today to say that as an elected official, I am pained and disturbed by the loss of life, especially young black men.
Mr.Oficer, Mr. Disrespect, Mr. Label me a threat, Mr. Charlie Beck, yeah I know your name, Mr. Global Gang, Mr. Ain't Gonna
Right here with my bro Ezell Ford. You know, we out here. Celebration. He received this scholarship from the University of Heaven. So, you know, we out here in celebration, man. You know, we got a song coming, Mr.Oficer. You know, basically pointing the finger at the man for the wrongdoing. Done stuff like this. Mike Brown, Trayvon Martin, everybody. We all are Ezell Ford. So this song is just pointing the finger at the man, you know.
We'll raise our hands. We'll all unite. Mr. You killed Ezell Ford. Mr. That ain't right.
This week they released the name of the 2 officers involved. How do you feel about that?
Great thing. Hey, Roger, they released the name. Now they released the name. Now the court. Now it's up to the courts to see what they feel about it. The police brutality needs to stop.
And since they wanna play it this way, we gon' make them understand now. They know. I just want it. They just want it. We just want it.
Actually, 2 people that were leaving the protest.
Right.
Later were involved in a shootout with the LAPD, which left 1 man dead, 1 man in custody, and 1 officer in the hospital.
All units, on eastbound 37 southbound, and probably restricted by Mayor 37th and Hill, 38th and Hill, 1 east of 37th and Hill, 38th and Hill, Jefferson, and there's 2 male black, 1 wearing, there's 2 male black, my white shirt.
I think what happened here was they were pulled over by a police car, and they fled the scene. They didn't get out of the car. They eventually exited the car and had some exchange of fire with the police and fled. And then there was a perimeter, and for about 3 hours the police were searching for these 2 men. 1 man was found in a dumpster. He was 19 years old, and the police used a grenade to get him out and pepper spray to subdue him. The other male was approached by an armored vehicle, and he was shot and killed. I think one of the officers in that incident was shot in the leg, which is why he was in the hospital.
Well, again, it goes back to, you know, respecting
people's rights on both sides. You know, people have rights. Of course, the police have rights to police the area. They're giving that. They're actually voting into their position by the community. And like Megan said, you know, if this is connected to Ezell Ford, in which if it turns out in the investigation he was followed from the scene and pretty much targeted because of that area being on high alert, there's some questions to be asked and answered. Could this have been prevented? Because anybody who's being, you know, pursued or followed due to a high profile case, that's harassment in a lot of ways. But then also you have to understand as a person in those situations, if you are being watched, to not have a gun in the car, not you know, shoot out with the police, because you know they have a lot more artillery and they have a lot more backup, and you don't want to ever, you know, put out there to kill anybody, you know, unjustly, including the law. And then the law shouldn't put out information or act in a way where they want to kill civilians.
And I think in this case there was like a definite point to be made by the LAPD with the methods they used to find these two suspects.
Right.
It seems it's kind of scary, actually. It's very scary.
Very.
Having use of a grenade, armored vehicles,
right,
pepper spray, and I bet those two men had no idea what they were getting themselves into when they were leaving the protest. That any of that would happen.
I do agree.
And I doubt it's what they would have wanted. And to the 37-year-old man who was shot and killed, we later found out his name was Andre Maurice Jones, and may he rest in peace.
Oh, definitely. And all this is a chain. It's a cycle that starts with the murder or the shooting or however the investigation goes of Ezell Ford. If that was even prevented from the get-go, then it probably could have prevented an officer possibly losing his life or getting shot. And in a lot of ways it can prevent the community from having to go to these town hall meetings and, you know, waste their not waste their tax dollars, but see where their tax dollars are going. Because obviously they feel it's being wasted on, you know, Officer and Bob shootings.
Right.
So
yeah, a lot of money goes into these investigations.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
lawsuits happen, people get fired. I mean, you know, like I say, no one's above the law.
Right.
Not even us. If I do something wrong, pull me over, take me to jail. The same way, if an officer does something wrong, he should be able to be treated like us. He goes to a civilian. He's actually put on a leave of absence. Then at that time, he's a civilian.
Right.
He's no longer allowed to be on duty, and he can be sued civilly, like in a civil court, and then could be put in jail in the judicial system as well.
Right. One of the other officer-involved incidents that was being protested with Ezell Ford was the death of Omar Ambrego, also age 37. He was pulled over by two anti-gang police sergeants on August 2nd at around 5:45 p.m. It was reported that he was driving recklessly and erratically, and he tried to flee the scene and I guess was combative with the two gang sergeants that were trying to take him into custody. And he ended up in the hospital instead and died 12 hours later. There's not a cause of death yet, but he had a concussion and several bruises, while one of the officers was treated for a broken hand and the other one treated for a knee injury.
They've gotten away with it almost every time. But the people in Ferguson, Missouri are fighting, and they're rising up resistance every night. Every night. And unless we continue to fight and build that same movement of mass resistance here in Los Angeles and across the country, the same thing is going to happen to Michael Brown, to Omar Ambrego, to Ezell Ford, where they're just going to become another in a list of hundreds of names, of thousands of names, of needless victims, of racist police violence and murder. We must take matters into our own hands. We must get the truth out about what happened to Omar Ambrego on August 2nd when he was beaten like a dog for 10 minutes here on Main Street of Los Angeles. How could we possibly let that happen? We can't. But we must get that truth out, and we must continue organizing and mobilizing.
Again, we're not too aware of what the circumstances are of Omar's death, but regardless, it's another life lost, and it does put into question what's being protested all around the country right now.
Well, it definitely does.
It's another example, more evidence building for the case of the people.
Oh yeah.
So,
right.
Just maybe formulate your opinions now. Learn about the past, the present. Know where you stand. Know your rights.
Right.
Be aware of things like racial profiling and excessive use of violence by the officers. Because these are important things to know about. And still have your actions within the law, because the last thing that I think anybody wants is to be in the jail and prison industrial system.
Or dead.
Or dead, even worse, or in the hospital.
And wherever there's trouble, wherever there's murders, or wherever the people and public need us, you're watching.
1 million hits. Telling stories from the streets.
Peace.
Shoot! 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 Put your hand on your gun, go ahead. Get a pay, man. Get a free check! Get a free check!